for the serious gamer.
Hello everyone and welcome to video number 2 in week number 2 of the NGT Director Contest semifinals. If you're wondering why I can't often say that without giggling like a schoolgirl, it's because nowhere in my life does Murphy's Law apply more clearly than that over-recited intro. To give you an example, I had already done this commentary earlier in the day, but when I was going back to listen to it and make sure everything was ideal, it was where I wanted and there wasn't too many mistakes, I noticed a buzzing sound in the audio track, and I couldn't figure out where it came from, until I noticed one of my fruit flies from my genetics class had flown into the metal grate on my microphone, and was just buzzing there for fun, and it completely just killed me. It just made me so mad, but I'm laughing at it now, and I laugh at all kinds of stuff because anything that can go wrong when I do that intro does go wrong. But this is Starcraft, so we have to get to the topic at hand. My opponent is J-Poo, who's actually a very, very good Protoss when it comes to fundamentals. He's good. He's good. I would love to get a rematch against him because I wasn't playing at my best. I was a little drunk and laddering, which isn't very good. And J-Poo got a gateway on 12, by the way, which our scout Ethan will discover. Some say Ethan invented November, and he has an inexplicable adoration of all things Tyler Perry. Who knew? But one thing Ethan does find out is there's an early gateway, there's no gas there, another gateway there, and a lot of chrono boost right there, which pretty much means you're looking at cannons, which aren't really coming into the picture because there's no forge that we can see, and zealots. However, I don't notice that at all. I was kinda tipsy and I made a huge error. That is such a bold giveaway. I don't know how I missed it. However, it does cause some fun. Oh shit, I forgot to show you that. I'll just sum it up. Anyways, we'll call this Ethan 2. Ethan 2 comes to lay a hatchery. I guess morph into a hatchery over here. And Probe, annoying Probe, where do you, he must have, oh, this one right there who got a little, knackered. He dropped a pylon there, which canceled out the fast expand, which is incredibly annoying for any Zerg player who wants to fast expand. It completely throws you off, especially if you go to set a hatchery before you get a spawning pool, because you have to build the entire spawning pool before you can deal with that. However, I don't do that. I drop a spine crawler, and I build 3 queens, which I will cancel these later on, and don't make Zerglings here. I'm just completely out of it. So right away, we can tell this is going to be a fun game. This is going to be interesting. Lots of awesome things will happen. Here comes J-Poo with a 3 Zealot, pretty early raiding party. He does a fair amount of damage with this, which I'll show you. And here's error number 3 or 4. I can't remember, but somebody keep track because there will be quite a few. I get a Baneling Nest instead of a Roach Warren, which isn't bad because it's not ideal, but it isn't awful because Zealots are pretty dense when it comes to their unit formation, and Banelings explode in an area about that big, which, as we'll see, oh, come on Zealots, run right into that and make me look good. Yeah, you can get all 3 of them in one blast. So it's better than it could have been, however, it's still not ideal. Roaches with their shoot and scoot would be much better. Another error. I should have not canceled that hatchery until it was just about to be killed. It would have taken more time from the Zealots, but the Zealots are here. They're beating back my workers. I started at 15, by the way, and I'm pulling back workers, which is bad in so many ways. I'm losing mining time. At the end of this, I will lose 5 drones, and I lost a queen. Excuse me. That is awful. But I do make Zerglings finally, and I do kind of solve the situation. But I have my work cut out for me. So at this point, the game kind of goes downhill. However, I'm going to imagine I can replay the game from this moment on and tell you how I would change things. Obviously, these have to attack that. Secondly, I drop a Roach Warren for a couple reasons. I can afford it, or at that point I could have before I started up all these Zerglings. I can afford it, I have the gas to support roaches, and I can take a few drones, although I think I did. I only have 1 drone working gas, which is good, because I have a stockpile right now. I can do that. These, I guess they're kind of justified, because you can imagine another wave's coming. Before I give you, or I'll go ahead and explain that. Okay, J-Poo came in here with 3 zealots, 300 minerals. In that attack, he killed 5 drones, which would total up to 250 minerals, a queen, 150, so a total of 400 minerals, and a couple zerglings, so we'll say like around 450 for 300. But the most important thing is he also got mining time taken away. I had a lot of drones stacked up, in the area. So that was an incredibly cost-efficient attack for him, especially because that isn't an all-in for him. It's a little out of the way. It's certainly planned, I would imagine, but it was highly effective. So you can imagine if it was really effective, do it again. So these banelings are okay because he comes only with zealots and they stack up pretty well, which you'll see here. There go the banelings, and so it wasn't awful. They did fairly well, but they're not exactly cost efficient because they're suicidal. However, it could be worse. They do 35 damage versus light, and I wish I could find a zealot. There we go. And they are light, so it's okay. It's okay. However, roaches are a little better with their shoot and scoot, which is you attack, and then you run back until your cooldown on your attack speed is up, which is 2 for roaches, and then you attack again. So it's kind of like spray, run, so the zealots can't hit you, because 2 is actually a fairly lengthy amount of time, and you keep on doing that, which is awesome. So, blah, 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 blah. Hatchery. Need a hatchery. Don't need 4 drones, need a hatchery. You gotta think long term at this point, because I pushed back his 5 zealot push, so he knows, okay, zealots probably aren't going to be working anymore. So he's going to transition into Stalker Sentry 3 or 4 gate, which a lot of Protoss do. That's an educated guess. And that gives you time. Not a lot, but it does give you time to go ahead and try something. Options here could be teching to Mutalisk, which is viable, but is often expected, and I already know he's kind of a forge guy. Or I can expect he's a forge guy because he got late gas, and he'll be trying something kind of funky. So I can try that out. I send out 1 Zergling to test the ramp and make sure I know what's going on. I will be able to see that he has warp gate technology, so I need to be checking right here for a pylon or a warp prism. That just goes without saying, because that brush can be so annoying. Although this brush right here is my favorite brush because it works for his base. I do see this push, and I see that he has indeed gone for the more expensive Stalker and Sentry, and he is coming down. So I pump out a good amount of Zerglings. I probably shouldn't have gone to Lair. I probably should have stuck with Zergling Roach at the time. This game was at the time of 1.1 before Roaches had the 4 range, but they would still be viable to some degree. They would at least have been able to fend this off until he decided, okay, it's time for Colossi. However, coming back to base, I will be going up for the Lair, and I don't really do much with the Lair at first, which is a problem. You always have to have a plan in mind, or at least have a reasoning. You shouldn't get Lair because it's fun. Here's something so painful. All those banelings, their hallmark feature is AoE splash, and they they go ahead and fail on 1 zealot. But they got the zealot, which is, good. The Stalkers are smart. They pick off the banelings, which is always good. One thing I want to mention is, well, I'll come back to it later because it hasn't applied. Chrono Boost is kind of layering up, but Protoss they don't have a cooldown, so they can dump that whenever they want. Coming back to the Queen, 18 energy at 11 minutes. That's alright. The creep needs to be spread a lot quicker, even though I had to use a bunch for larva to rebuild my economy. Needed to have been done a lot better. I'm catching up in harvesters, but I'm still really far behind. Actually, I'm about halfway there. So you can tell the theme of both the games. Don't get doubled in harvester count by your opponent. Quick thing about these spine crawlers right here, they should have been around there and around there, which leaves the vulnerability of Stalkers kind of coming in the back here, but they will be vulnerable at this point and at this point. However, they will be a little safe around there. Anyways, the lings are ready. If I had creep spread better, I would have had a lot more mobility. However, here's one issue that I'm really frustrated myself with. These Stalkers attack my hatchery, and for whatever reason, I don't believe this Zergling force could handle the Stalkers. I think I might have been waiting a little bit for the spine crawler, but at any rate, that just kind of made me sick. I definitely should have done something right there about that. At least gone and attacked the Stalkers and fended them off. Also, one thing that kind of kills me too is I'm not paying attention and I don't notice the creep receding. Problem with Zerg and creep is when your buildings are on creep, great. When they're off creep, they take damage over time, which includes larvae. So spine crawlers, you have a pretty good window to save them, but larvae, they're so critical for Zerg, and they're quite weak when they're off creep. They actually have a ton of armor, so a little odd there, but coming back to the game, another problem. I am right in the vision range of J-Poo and his Xel'Naga tower. However, I can't see him. If you assume your opponent has map control, you want to be in this area, just outside the Xel'Naga watchtower, or in this area, or in this area. You don't want to be right here because he can see you and you can't see him, so that's never good. However, I do start doing the surround, which I do get more confidence, and I try for a surround, but he has blink, which is it's so disheartening. Zerglings know it probably won't work out. It's better to go back and wait for a bigger force than to try and force something when it wouldn't work out at all. I suppose I could have run in here and then attacked these guys. However, I'd pretty much be condemning these Zerglings, and I don't know if I could justify that. Maybe I could see some good in it, but if they ran around and kited and broke up into all sorts of different directions, which is possible, it just wouldn't have worked out at all. And that hatchery is just now going up. There was a large gap in time from when it went down originally to when it went back up, which I didn't show you because I'm so embarrassed about it. But we are starting to recover. Spire is coming to be finished, and I have a good amount of gas saved up. However, I don't have a big ground army. It's incredibly weak, incredibly vulnerable. I would say Roaches and Hydra would have helped out a ton, especially because he does not get a robotics bay, which means he will not have Immortals or Colossi, which are the bane of Hydras and Roaches. But Immortals love to fight Roaches more than anything in the world. He's going for Archons, which is very unorthodox for Protoss players these days, but they are very good against Zerglings. They do 39 damage versus biological, but the kicker is it's ranged and AoE damage. So even when an Archon destroys my Zerglings, it's still so amazing to see that I'm not incredibly upset about it. I do have a lot of Mutalisk on the way. I'm going for a big harass when he pushes out because that's really all I have. I'm pretty much banking that these spine crawlers and these Zerglings will hold on long enough for a round of larvae to hatch when I'm in trouble and will allow me to at least encourage him to back off. Oh, I forgot to talk about this. J-Poo for a good while had all his probes over here. They were being inefficient. He was oversaturated, and he was just mining this out even quicker and had nothing over here. But that's not important. Anyways, Mutalisk are up here. They need to be moving in now because I should have assumed he was coming in for the kill. It's not going to work out pretty well, and I know right away that it is game. Also, fun fact about psionic armor, it takes no bonus damage from anything. Little nugget of knowledge, take that home, chew on it. But that's pretty much it for the game. I made a couple mistakes early on. I'm polite enough to spell out good game, I suppose, and I give them an earned it because, yeah, it doesn't matter. But to recap over things, where should I begin? Baneling Nest versus Protoss is very, very risky. I believe I got lucky in the fact that he only went Zealots early on, rather than, oh, it was a stroke of brilliance. Roaches would have been a better idea with a lot of Zerglings. It would be like 3-to-1 Zergling to Roach. Hatchery, time and time again, fell. This earlier hatchery, when 3 Zealots were pushing against it, I should have let that take damage until it's just about to die, then cancel it, because at the very least, the Zealots will spend time wailing on it while I can build Zerglings, or they will, run somewhere else, and I'll have that in-base hatchery, which is essentially a barracks or a gateway for Zerg. I should have paid more attention to this, because when I send these in, I click right-click from over here, which makes a green arrow, and then I hold shift and click A, and then click left, which essentially queues it up to when they fly in here, they're going to attack move to there, which is great for kind of macro-oriented fighting. However, you don't really pay attention to what's going on, and I guarantee you within another, let's back up 10 seconds and see how well that went out. Here we go. See that little red line in there? They go here and they fight, and within a few more seconds, they would have been annihilated. He's well protected. I should have assumed that. I kind of did, but it was really the only thing I could think of at the time because drunk people don't think that well. And Hydras would have been very good. Hydras are actually quite effective against gateway units. I'm not quite sure how they fare against Archons. Archons are so unorthodox. Well, they're not mainstream that I'm not really sure. I don't have a lot of experience in how that worked out. Creep needed to have been spread a lot better. I needed to get my overlords more spread out. I think I hide them in the corner. Well, I guess I don't have that many of them. But they need to be spread out and dropping creep. I need to have one over here to make sure I don't get proxied. And it helps to have one around here, which I do, and that's why that cannon's there to ward it off. That keeps an eye on this, and when I can see a probe kind of mining that, I know, oh, he has a expo up and running. I should have also gone for map position earlier, so I would have known sooner when the zealots were pushing, so I could have more time for that initial 3. And that is about it for all I can think off the top of my head. He got me pretty well. APM is not that good, not that great, but that is how I view a replay. That's how I look at it and try and find what I did right and what I did wrong, which I highly recommend all of you do whenever you find yourself in a game where you got rolled. There's no better person to learn from than the person who dominated you. Well, there are, but that's a very good place to start for free. Anyways, that's been it for me. Go ahead and let me know what you liked and what you didn't like in the comment section below. I really would appreciate that feedback because it tells me a lot about what I need to do and what I don't need to do. But that would be it. I hope you enjoyed it. Take care. Have fun.